This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today on the podcast, I'm going to discuss maybe something that goes against what I've spoken about a few times. I don't mind a little bit of a paradox, a catch-22 kind of idea concept, and this is the fact that adversity doesn't shape us. Now, what's interesting is that I have talked to many podcasts and had many conversations with clients and many conversations in general about how important adversity and facing adversity is, and just how crucial it is to move through adversity and the things that we find challenging and difficult, as opposed to avoiding adversity. I mean, avoiding adversity doesn't avoid it; you just prolong it, right? It's like ignoring something that's only going to get worse until you turn and face it. And so that's the reality of adversity. We don't have a choice of avoiding it completely, because the person who never actually faces adversity, they're going to at some point, and because they haven't had the ability to overcome adversity, and slowly overcome harder and harder adversity, they don't ever shape their character into being somebody who is able to face adversity and move through it. But at the end of the day, adversity itself does not shape us. It can't, and adversity is different for every single person. That's clear, and it's also clear that what one person finds really challenging, another person will find easier. And it's not to say that one person's stronger or better, or so to speak. It's just that people are at different stages of unfolding to who they may end up being. So, if adversity doesn't shape us, what does? What shapes our character and our being? And the answer to that question is the fact that our response shapes us, our response to adversity. Now, what even sits above that, meta to our response, is our meaning, which is basically our response, but our meaning structures that actually help us have the response and then create the meaning of the adversity, right? And so this is why there's like such a long-term result in working on our own meaning structures and our thought patterns, and seeing our egoic structures, not necessarily as bad things, but basically as filters of reality, so that we can set that up in a way that's going to help us create more resourceful meanings of reality as we go through adversity. And so when something occurs, do we then, our response, do we sit ourselves in a space of victimhood and how hard it is and why me? And somebody sitting there listening to this, it's like, fuck, I would never do that. Chances are you probably have, and you may have recently. It just may be in a way that you don't know, or you don't realize. And I say this because I'm fully aware that even with myself, there is still something that I would be facing and seeing in that way. Now, this is the idea of a mindset, and people are like, you can just change your reality like that. It's like, sort of, but the thing is that something can arise that you didn't even know was there, and something triggered it, right? And you may be sitting in a space where you're fantastic, but until something comes up, and maybe the person's single. Here's an example: someone's single, and they're like, "Fuck, I'm I get it. I'm doing really well. I'm moving through, and I'm growing up, and I feel great." And then I have nothing to work on. And then they get in a relationship and things start showing up for them, right? And so this is where the things in the relationship actually tie back into saying that they do need to work on. And so therefore a mindset is incomplete, because we haven't had the triggers and the reality unfold in front of us for us to really set off a lot of the things and a lot of the meaning structures that we have hidden in our unconscious. This is why this is for all of us, the fact that we, as we unfold, get to start to explore our meaning structures that help us create our response to adversity, which means that we then create a new meaning about a said adversity, right? And so we get to move from being a victim of a circumstance to seeing it as an opportunity. Now, that can look different once again for every single person, because it will be based in a whole range of circumstances, such as what the actual adversity is itself, how that person sees themselves, the meaning structures they already have, and so on. So this is where it's so important to be able to step back and realize that every single one of us has a different filter and filters of filters almost, is a way to think about it. And so when we're in a space of that's how it happened and this is the truth, it's actually, no, that's our truth and that's how we saw it unfold. And when we can sit in that space, when we can admit that, we start to realize that we're not right, but we're not wrong, but we're just incomplete because we can only see, and I say see as all of the senses, smell, hear, feel, whatever, what we see. We only know our experience from our point of view, literally a point in our existence, in our life, in our timeline, but also a point from where we're standing and observing. And so taking that into account, we start to realize that we have the opportunity when adversity strikes, and it fucking will. It will in so many different ways, and it's often an unknown. And the question is, do you like surprises? And some people are like, I fucking love surprises. It's like, no. You like surprises that make you happy. Surprises that don't make you happy are called problems, right? And so what happens is that those problems, that they are going to come at some point, and that may sound dark or negative or something, and so be it. That's irrelevant. It's not here to be unicorns and fairy farts about the reality and your future. It's here to go, how are you going to make sure that you're set up mentally to be able to deal with the adversity as it unfolds? Your parents aren't going to be alive forever. Some people listen to this, parents aren't. They're not here anymore, right? And so the reality is that life will continue to unfold. How are you going to respond to the adversity that arises in your life? Now, that doesn't mean to move into a toxic form of stoicism where you feel nothing. That's not a response. That's once again, it's avoiding the emotion of a particular circumstance or situation that would, chances are, become a difficult situation later on in life. So the real response is, what meaning structures are you going to create when adversity strikes? Is the question going to be, why me? Or is the question is, what am I going to learn from this? What is this teaching me? What's the lesson that I can't see yet? How can I use this to be able to push me towards my goal, my dream, my purpose, right? Maybe if this wasn't an adversity, what could it be, right? What am I missing? Is there something that I'm missing that I can't see? What can I see from their foot if it involves someone else? What can they see that I can't, right? Who can I ask for help to get through this, right? And so all of these questions are now sort of shifting us into more resourceful questions. And the more resourceful we can be, what that means is that the more sources, S-O-U-R-C-E, sources, not tomato sauce, ketchup, sources that allow us to be able to grab those resources and utilize them to move forward. And this is so crucial because when we hit, like, the easiest example that I can think of is like in the gym, like I just feel like I'm back at square one, you know, it's just like, but you have all the resources that you learned through the adversity with you. You can never go back to square one because you can't take away the experience. You can't take away the adversity that you went through to be back here. This is just another unfolding. This is just another shelling of your skin. What is the lesson? Where's the lesson in this for you? Like, are you going to sit here as a victim to a circumstance, or are you going to realize that every single fucking human being goes through adversity, and the ones that grow through it allow themselves to become more, to be able to move towards something, and the people that end up like staying in adversity, being the victim, being the child, a scared child, and that's okay. And if that's where we're at, then it's so crucial for us to actually admit that, because if we can admit that, then we can start to look at, well, how can I mature? And this is where a lot of adults fall short, because they think that just because they're old and they have a mortgage, they're adults. And I know so many adults that are still holding on to an inner child that allows them to really sort of stay in this victim space and hope that someone else will fix it for them. But no one's coming to save you. It's no one else's fucking job. It's yours. So what meaning structures are you going to create to allow you to move through the adversity and grow through it, not just go through it? And on that note, team, I'm done. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you found this podcast or any other podcast beneficial, it would mean the world to me. If you would pass it on to someone else that you think would also find it beneficial. And if you haven't already, jump on Facebook, search Mood Prep Online, join the conversation. You should be able to see it in the comments of this thing anyway. Otherwise, team, that's me done for today. Until tomorrow, peace and pizza, kick today in the dick, and slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburdened.